What's up, everybody? It's your boy Yuli again from Ballard Defense Depot, Southwest Oklahoma's premier gun shop. And today I'm really excited because I am trading one gun for a newer gun. And so today I have my Glock 17, old trusty, faithful, always runs, never fails Glock 17. And this particular gun I have set up with a Modlite PLHV2 pistol light. I got suppressor height sights, and then I have a Trijicon RMR HD. And today what we're going to be doing is taking all these accessories off the sights, the light, and the RMR along with the forward controls plate and putting them on my brand new Glock 47. So that's what we're going to be doing today, and I'm going to walk you through it as I get them all changed out. First thing we do, of course, is make sure the weapon is safe and clear. As you can see, magazine is empty. And we have nothing in the chamber. Chamber is clear. I'm going to visually and physically check, make sure the chamber is clear. Once we do that, we're going to go through our takedown process. We're just going to pull the slide back a little bit, press down on the takedown pins, pull the trigger, let that slide release forward into my hand, and then separate the slide from the frame of the gun. All right. First thing I'm going to do is remove the recoil spring, remove the barrel, and then I'm going to go ahead and remove the front sight. I'm going to start there. All right. So I have my Real Avid front sight tool. These are really cool because there's a magnet in there, and this screw that holds the front sight in is super small, and you don't want to lose it. And this magnet helps prevent that from happening. So all it is just a turn of the screw to loosen that up. Few more turns here. Oh, a few more. All right, and now I have the front sight and the screw. And what I like to do to prevent from losing the screw is just run it back in to those threads back into the front sight post. I'm just going to set that aside right there. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to remove the RMR from here. And this is a Torx bit or a Torx screw. And before I do that, let me just show you what I have here, witness marks. Some people don't do this. I like to do it, add a little paint mark on the screws just so I know in case the screws back out a little bit. I can address that issue before firing the gun and the screw is backed all the way out, and then off comes the optic. That's never a good day. I'm just going to loosen that up. I add a little dab when I install these of Loctite blue specifically, so it takes a little bit of pressure to get them off, but nothing crazy. Don't need any heat or anything like that. All right, set that aside. Once I get both of these screws out, I'm going to set them in a place where I cannot lose them. Okay, and then I'm going to remove the RMR. Come on. All right. Cool thing about the RMR HD, top load battery, so I don't have to worry about the battery falling out or it losing zero or having to do anything like that. All right. Next thing I'm going to do is remove the plate. This forward controls plate has been very, very solid. This is also going to be a Torx. that one's just a little too big as well. And what I really like about the Ford Controls plates is they make things really easy. When you get the plate kit in, it gives you 2 bags of screws, and it tells you exactly the dimensions of the screws, and each bag will be labeled with sight to plate, telling you the screws that attach the optic to the plate, and then plate to slide, so you know which screws to put to connect the plate to the slide. All right, so now we have our slide without the optics plate, without the optic on it. All right, so what I'm going to do is just kind of give it a wipe down to remove any grime or debris that has been in there or caked in there over the years, any excess thread lockers or anything like that have been in there. Maybe you can take a nylon brush or something, kind of brush that stuff out in case you ever want to, mount another optic. You just have a clean area to start with. All right. So now that I got off that off, now it's time to remove the rear sight. Grab my rear Avid sight tool here. I'm just going to get this set up and adjusted to where I need it to be. All right, now that I got my sight tool, my sight pusher adjusted where I need it, I'm just going to start to spin this and add some pressure to push that rear sight off the slide. And as you get further off, it'll get hard, and then it'll loosen up and get really easy. All right. And we have our rear sight out. Just going to set that aside. Just make sure I get this out of the track of that rear side. Now my slide has all my accessories off. I'm going to set that aside. And then my light's pretty simple. Just another Torxa. Loosen up that screw. And now my light's off. I'm back to a stock frame. Okay. So I'm going to set this aside and pull out the brand new 47. All right. Now, some of you may be wondering what's the difference between a Glock 17 and a Glock 47 and why I would want to switch it up. Well, just because I can. Literally, that's the only reason. No, I'm kidding. So the Glock 47 is modular. You can take a Glock 19 slide and put it on top of this 47 frame. You could take a Glock 45 slide and put it on top of this 47 frame. So basically you have a lot of options with the 47 that you didn't have with the 17 because of the shortened frame and the extended recoil spring. So, and to me, the trigger just feels a little bit better in the 47 than it did to me in the 17. I'm sure they're both stock Glock triggers and there's probably no difference in them, but it's just a matter of how I perceive it. So that's why I switched from a 17 to a 47. All right, so first thing we're going to do, of course, ensure the gun is clear. I already did that. It's a brand new gun. All right, now I'm going to remove this slide. Come on. You can do it. There you go. Remove the recoil spring and remove the barrel. Take my handy dandy front sight tool. Being really careful not to drop that screw. I'm going to remove it. And then just like before, thread it back into that front sight post so that I don't lose it. I'm going to take my suppressor height front sight. Remove that screw. Set that into the front sight post hole. Then just screw that back into the threads. Brand new 47 MOS is going to come with a cover plate. I'll take another Torx key. Just remove this cover plate. And set these screws aside. And so that I can ensure that I don't lose them, I'm going to go ahead and reinstall this cover plate on the 17. Just go ahead and put those screws in there and get that cover plate assembled on the 17 so that there's no chance I can lose these screws. These come from the factory with a little bit of Loctite on them. So I'm not going to add any, just going to hand tighten these back down. Hand tight with just a tad extra. I'm going to take my 47 slide. I'm going to change the rear sight. So same way, going to get this set up. I'm going to ensure that my pusher is in line with that dovetail where the rear sight sits. Get that down level. Once I get that lined up, I'm just going to start turning this wheel and push that rear sight out of there. And this one is sufficiently tighter. There we go. Now starting to loosen up. Get my new rear sight, or the old rear sight, the suppressor sight. I'll set that in the track. Just kind of get it started. All right, now I got that lined up. Just going to start turning the other way to push that sight into place. Now, getting it centered is going to be the tricky part, and that's kind of a trial and error thing. All right, so once I think I'm about there, pull this out. All right, I'm gonna give it a little look. And what I like to do is look over the top of the rear sight and see how much of the metal is left over on either side. And when it's about equal space, then I know I got it centered. And this is about there. All right. So once I see that it's centered, check it with the front side, and it looks like my front side is just a tad bit canted. So I'll loosen that up just a little bit. Once I feel that that is straight, kind of hold it in place. And then retighten that back down. So now I got my front sight in place, my rear sight in place, and then just need to get the plate, the optic plate back on. So I'll take my optic plate here, I'll take a little brush, clean off any old Loctite or anything. And the tolerances on these things are really tight, so this is going to require a little bit of force to get that in there, and that's okay. There we go. And now we're set in there. All right. So once I get that in there, I'm going to take my screws, I'm going to tighten these back down. And I like to use a Torx screwdriver on here. And a lot of different manufacturers, you may have a plate manufacturer that'll say, you know, however many inch pounds, and then you'll have a slide manufacturer that'll say however many inch pounds. If there's a difference, I kind of go in between. So I like to do mine at about 13 inch pounds. Oops. Get a different bit here. Need a little bit smaller bit. All right. Once that's on, then I'll take my RMR, set that into place, and take my sight to plate screws and screw those in. And then I stick with the same torque spec, about 13 inch pounds. Alright, so now my slide is complete. Take my frame, grab my light, I want to make sure I get that lug in the slot on the frame of the Glock. and just kind of make that tight. All right, so now I'm ready to reassemble. Take my barrel, then my recoil spring, then mate the frame to the slide. Do a little function check. Press the side of the trigger without hitting the safety. Make sure it won't go. You press the trigger, run the slide again, listen for the reset. And now we are good to go. All right. Put this back in the box for fun time later. Now I'm just going to replace the front sight that I took off the 47 and put it on the 17. Make sure that's tight. Now the way I replaced the rear slide on the 47, I'm gonna do the same thing for the 17. We'll start by sliding that rear sight into the dovetail just a little bit. Get it lined up with my pusher. And then once all that's lined up, start applying the pressure. All right. Once I think I got that about center, I'm going to check it. This could probably go a tad bit more. All right, and there we have it. So now I'll take the 17 parts, the barrel and the recoil spring. and mate the slide with the frame. Function test it, make sure it's good to go. And we are complete. All right, and that's how you add your RMR and change your sights on your Glock 47 and your Glock 17. All right, thanks for watching. Come down and see us at Valor Defense Depot, Southwest Oklahoma's premier gun store, and we'll get you hooked up.